7 seconds. You can see the time. Wittenberg, it's a long ways. 2 seconds. He's got to put it up. And he wins it with the jumper. To the court with Archie Diacono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
Welcome back to another episode of Tobacco Road Hooper. Today I'm looking at Coach Keatts of NC State and how a coach of a 17-13 ACC team belongs on the chopping block. NC State was a once proud basketball school that sadly has not won a national title since 1983. They have not won an ACC title since 1987, and they haven't even won an ACC regular season title since 1989. The last time you could say this team was relevant was from around 2010 to 2015. You could maybe go up to 2020 if you simply just count making appearances in the postseason, but they were all first-round exits after 2015. In that time period, they did appear in 5 NCAA tournaments, making the Sweet 16 in 2012 and 2015. But they followed that up with 2 consecutive losses, going 9-27 in the ACC during those 2 seasons. Add in some recruiting violations, and there was a coaching change. And that's when we got Kevin Keats at NC State. In 2017, they hired Keats, and in his first year, he became the first NC State coach since 1918-1919 to beat Duke, UNC, and Wake Forest in his first try. He took a team that was a projected 12 seed in the ACC and managed to tie for 3rd place, and then lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament to Seton Hall. All around, it seemed like a good fit at the time. He showed promise. Through his first 3 years, he went 65-26. He had that first appearance in the NCAA in year 1, and then a few runs he had 1 run at the NIT. After that, though, Keatts went 48-53. He made the NCAA tournament once, losing in the first round, and the NIT once. And it looks like this year, barring an ACC tournament championship, which would require a run for the ages, North Carolina State's going to miss the NCAA tournament again. The lowest net-ranked team to make the tournament was Rutgers in 2022, and they were ranked 77. NC State currently sits at 80th in the net. And this isn't a school that should settle for being 500 in conference play. Only 2 first-round exits in 7 years. I mean, and even in those exits, I don't think fans expected to win. They were just happy that they made the tournament. They were surprised even. So when they lost in the first round, life went on. And that's not right for this team. This team should be expecting to make the tournament pretty much every year, and they should be expected to at least make it past the first round. And if you look at it, the previous coach, Mark Gottfried, was let go with a record of 123-86, which is really similar to Keats' current 130-92. The difference is, though, Gottfried went to the NCAA tournament 4 years in a row and made the Sweet 16 twice, before missing it 2 years in a row and getting fired. Now, Gottfried left behind the recruiting violations, so the team was kind of in rough shape, which gave Keats a pass for a few years, but it's becoming unacceptable at this point. It doesn't seem to be a lack of recruiting either. The team this year has a lot of talent, but it feels like after they run their initial play, there's no real strategy or coaching. The team's just left to their own devices. Keats is really good at assembling talent, but I don't think he can coach it. And I'm not looking to knock NC State for taking the risk on hiring Keats in the first place, or holding on to him for a while at this point. I mean, Keats went 72-28 at UNC Wilmington, finished first in the conference every year, and made an NCAA tournament twice. At that time, he was a super promising mid-major coach, and NC State didn't have a ton to offer with the recruiting violations. Yet, Keats made that NCAA tournament the first year, he had the NIT run, and then the season was canceled by COVID, where it seemed like the team was heating up at the end. So if you look at all that, it's really easy to see how Keats got to 7 years on his contract. And Keatts has been an above-average recruiter, and I believe he's probably a good motivator, but the man simply can't coach at this level. Yes, he had success at UNC Wilmington, but honestly, I'm starting to think a big part of that is that he was able to recruit and out-talent other teams. I mean, his offense at Wilmington had really big hopes coming into NC State. I think people expected him to have a style more similar to Nate Oates, what he's doing at Alabama, high energy, 5-out dribble drive offense, where they take a lot of three-point shots or just drive inside for a high percentage. Instead, over the years, there seems to be no offensive plan. I mean, just look back over the last few years. You had Traquavion Smith, a great talent, but he never learned how to play in an offense. He would just come down and take half-court threes with full shot clock. But that's not an offense. That's just giving a player a green light to shoot whenever they want. And then we have good players like Casey Morsell, who half the time I see him go down, he'll take a contested mid-range shot from 2 when he could step behind the line and go for that extra point, or try driving inside for a higher percentage shot. And then giving DJ Burns the ball at the top of the key and having him back all the way down, that's not an offensive strategy. That's just ridiculousness. It's like for the last few years, there's absolutely nothing other than a pick and roll or one-on-one basketball for this team. And if one of those doesn't work and it doesn't end in a bucket, that's it. And when it doesn't work for a whole game, they lose. There are people on Twitter with no coaching experience wondering why NC State does these things. And I'm not sure either. The big picture here is after 7 years, there have been 2 NCAA tournament appearances, 0 NCAA tournament wins, 0 ACC tournament championships, 0 ACC regular season titles, only 1 ACC top finish, and that was in his first year when he was mostly using Godfrey's players, 0 25+ win seasons, 0 pre- or post-season top 25 finishes, 0 top 40 Ken Palm finishes, and a sub 500 ACC winning percentage. With that, it's time to move on. Realistically though, who can NC State actually hire? Supposedly John Calipari's on the hot seat over at Kentucky, and the rationale here would be why not bring in another coach with a UNC Wilmington connection? I'm kidding. But seriously, a national championship coach, if he's not ready to hang it up yet, he can certainly turn the program around and set it in the right direction, and then maybe set up his replacement. I mean, we've seen it happen in the ACC over the last 2 or 3 years here, with Coach K, Roy Williams, and Boeheim all leaving a legacy behind and setting up an assistant to take over to some degree of success, especially over at UNC right now. And NC State's taken a run at Calipari before, but he stayed at Memphis. Maybe it's time to make it a reality now. Another good option is Dusty May. Although he seems to be in talks with Ohio State right now, if NC State can pull the trigger on Keatts fast enough, maybe they can try to swoop in and get Dusty May. May seems like a winner so far, and after his Final Four run, it's probably time to give him a shot at a big name program. But I'm not sure if NC State can be as competitive in the offering as Ohio State. Another option is Eric Musselman, who's currently at Arkansas. The competition for this one is Louisville, who's dead last in the ACC and probably moving on from Kenny Payne. I'm not sure if NC State, again, will pay as much as Louisville would, or in this case, if the program even has the prestige of Louisville. But it might be worth a shot. He looks like he'd be a good fit in Raleigh. And I'm not sure, maybe a guy like Greg Marshall, although he left Wichita State after an internal investigation, which alleged multiple former players who detailed physical and verbal abuse from him. NC State pursued him before, and the South Carolina native might be ready for a comeback to coaching, but after 7 years of mediocrity, and the coach before leaving the program with recruiting violations, I'm not sure if NC State's going to take a coach with such baggage. The program needs to buy back the goodwill of fans, but we did see with Ole Miss and Chris Beard that a lot can be forgiven if your program is winning. And then there's former NC State assistant Sean Miller. Miller is currently in the midst of a 500 season at Xavier. And he might take the call from Boo Corrigan, to escape his current situation and then move over to State. He's a proven coach. He could turn the program around. He's been there before. It just depends on how much he likes Raleigh, I guess, and how much he wants out of Xavier. We should see in a few days here. There's one game left on the schedule for State. If they're going to actually make a move this offseason. And for the fans' sake, I hope they do. Another year Keatts might... Oh, man. If you think fans are apathetic now, try another 500 season. Oof. Hang in there, State.